Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Orphanlast, and today I'm going to go ahead and share with you a little bit of information that happens to be inside of the Animators Survival Kit. I will not be showing you everything that happens to be in the chapter, but I will be showing you little highlights and giving you a little bit of a summary. If I gave you everything, that would be copyright infringement, but I am going to be careful about what information I share with you. I highly recommend this book, The Animators Survival Kit, and it's written by Richard Williams. Every animator anyone who's serious about animating knows something about this book and talks about it from time to time. And the topic of discussion is the history of the XSheet. Okay, now Opentoonz has an XSheet. That's how we animate. This is our timeline. Okay, and basically an XSheet originally was just a spreadsheet that was printed out on a normal-sized piece of paper, and each second would be split up into 3 sections. Okay, now contrast that with Opentoonz. Now let me show you what I mean by that. So 24 frames right here is right here. Okay, so we can see that there's a really dark line here and a really dark line here. So 1, 2, 3. So 1 second would be split up into thirds. Now in Opentoonz, it's different. It's split up into fourths. So we can see our 24th frame is right here, and we see these blue lines here. And so 1, 2, 3, 4. Each second is split up into fourths on the XSheet in Opentoonz. All right, so that's pretty useful information. That's some interesting stuff. So this might help you with your specific animations and timing and everything like that. Now, just looking at this right here, this example of an XSheet, this would be where you'd write notes for your cameraman. Even if you're just working on animation all by yourself, it may be some time until you start working with the camera, and so you might want to write down some notes for yourself for later on when you plan on working around with the camera. Here you would write notes for dialogue. When does the character make what pronunciation? At what point does this sound effect take place in the XSheet? That sort of thing. And phoneme pronunciations, like you might want to record like when an A or an I is being pronounced inside of a sound file and such like that. An A and I share the same mouth position. C, D, G, K, N, R, T, S, th, pronunciation, TH basically. Y and Z, they all have the same mouth position. F and V have the same mouth position. So like this is like some really invaluable stuff, and it's called phoneme. Just Google it and you'll find images like this all over the place. So let's go back to here. Okay, so this is different than it is in Opentoonz. Okay, so the stacking order would be from right to left. In Opentoonz, it's different. You can see that objects that happen to be from left to right depict the stacking order. So if I were to grab this column and move it this way, it's not going lower on the stacking order, it's going up in the stacking order. It's covering up my punching man and my hit man. So let me go ahead and move it back, and it goes lower and lower on the stacking order. All right, this is stuff I've already covered, but here you can see it's the direct opposite. Column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, column 5. And then we go into Opentoonz. This is column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on and so forth forever, because we're working with digital media. We're not just working with 5 columns. And so we have some advantages that they didn't have back then. So basically this is how they would do it. They would grab the background image and then they'd throw it down onto some peg bars. And then they'd get column 1's image, the level that pertains to what specific frame. And then they'd throw it down, and then second column, third, so on and so forth. And then they'd lay it down on the desk, and then a camera would snap an image. And that would be a frame inside of a series of animation of pictures in an animation. So before they would even start animating, what they would do is they would write down notes for the action. They would have someone act out a scene, and then they'd have a stopwatch, and then they'd write, okay, so in this example they're writing down how long it takes someone to take a step, each footstep inside of an animation. Okay, so it took, let's see, about 17 frames for them to take the first step. about 33 frames to take the second step in a walking animation, and then 49 to take the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, so on and so forth. And as you can see, on a traditional XSheet piece of paper, about 4 seconds would be able to be stored on that one singular piece of paper. Okay, so that's some pretty useful information. And so, if we go into Opentoonz, how can we leave notes for ourselves or for a cameraman if we're working inside of a studio, or for dialogue or for action? How can we leave notes for ourselves? Well, that's pretty easy, actually. You can go ahead and just click on this little button right here, and then it pops up this little memo. Okay, and you can change the color to whatever you want. So let's say yellow always represents action, so 1 step. Okay, so let's say you're watching a YouTube video, or let's say you recorded yourself doing a specific action, and you're using that as a reference. How long does it take for you to walk across the screen? Okay, so this is where you take your first step. Okay, there you go. There's your first memo right there. And then, okay, when do you take your second step? 2 step. Okay, and then you go ahead and post it. Okay, and then you put it wherever you want. And you literally can put a memo anywhere you want. It's not bound to a column at all. And this would be before you even draw a single drawing at all. You would already have everything all planned out, and then you would start doing your drawings. You draw your keyframes, start and end of your animation, and then you draw your extremes, and so on and so forth. And then, like, let's say you have a note for your cameraman. You can go ahead and, let's say green is for camera. Camera zooms in and pans right. Okay, you can go ahead and write that note for yourself. And did it post? Oh yeah, it posted. It's right here. All right, so that you would leave that note wherever, and notice how it just says camera. You can double click it, and then you can read the whole thing. And you can do the same thing, this exact same process for like pronunciation. Like, let's say a K is being pronounced on a specific frame. You could go ahead and put that wherever a K is being pronounced. And so to delete these, you can double click it and then press discard, or you can just right click and select delete memo. And so that's how that works. All right, so let's go ahead and move on. All right, so let's say, all right, let's zoom down here a bit. So back in the day, they knew the XSheet worked in order to determine what action is going to take place, but they didn't really know how to really fill out the XSheet. And so they would do level 1, level 1A. Opentoonz still does things like this, level 1A, level 1B, but this is if you start renumbering things. And you will be, like, I do suggest renumbering things, but you will be running into little issues like this when you do that. And then you have level 2, level 2.5, whatever that means, level 2 3/4, again, whatever that means. The author of this book says that this system made no sense whatsoever. It was so convoluted. They didn't know what they were doing. And later on, he wound up working with a guy that worked in Warner Brothers, I believe in Looney Tunes. And this is how he filled out the XSheet. Basically, they primarily started to animate in twos, which would cut their workload in half. And what he would do is he'd get the XSheet and go 1, skip a level, skip a frame, 2, skip a frame, 3, skip a frame, 4, skip a frame, 5, skip a frame, 6, etc., 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 and so on and so forth. And so they would animate in twos. Now, what animating in twos means is when you expose one drawing for 2 frames, and then you go to your next drawing and then expose it for 2 frames. Next drawing, expose it for 2 frames. That's drawing in twos. It's pretty much 12 frames per second. But then he asked the question, what if you need to animate in ones in a particular portion? Well, then you'd have, like, you just write A after the number. So you have 33, 34, 35, 35A, 36, 36A, 37, 37A, and that's how you would know if you were animating in ones. But later on, he started working with a guy that worked in Disney, and this is how he filled out the XSheet. He would go 1, skip a number, 3, skip a number, 5, skip a number, 7, and this made it so that whenever you were animating on an odd number, you knew you were animating in 2s. And whenever you were animating an even number, you knew you were animating in 1s. And so that's some useful information. And it always gets me to wonder, how can I implement this into Opentoonz somehow? Anyways, that pretty much concludes it for this video. I hope that you guys like, share, and subscribe it. And I hope it's useful. Really do. And if you guys could leave a comment, that'd be nice. Sometimes it's a little lonely with the being a small channel. Have a good one.